Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor. That podcast has been with you your whole life. Don't you remember? Because this week we watched Adam.
Written by Catherine Tregenna.
Directed by Andy Goddard.
And aired on February 13th, 2008.
Ah, Adam. You know, when I saw the title for this, I thought of Adam from BioShock. The, weird, mysterious compound that allows people to shoot lightning out of their hands. Among other things, but...
Turns you into a Sith. Yeah, I thought of Adam from Doctor Who. Remember? Adam, who...
Yeah, I also thought about that. I had set a note, is that Adam who got kicked off the TARDIS going to show up?
Unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately, no. But my second note is something, the future, something, I swear. If I see Reese's ass, that's it. That's the whole note.
That's it. That's the note.
You should just tweet a picture of Reese's behind from 2 or 3 weeks ago and just say, Reese's ass, that's it. That's the tweet.
No, even our Twitter feed is not low enough to stoop to those lows. Our Twitter feed,
professionals have standards.
Which, if you look at some of our latest tweets, are just me stirring up controversy intentionally.
Yeah, and I guess me adding to that while we're waiting to start recording. Great. Wow. Do we just exist to stir up controversy in the Doctor Who fandom? Maybe. Maybe.
I sure hope so.
Well, we're definitely not failing so far.
No, I guess not.
I mean, our very first plug on Crinoid podcast was from them going, we found a podcast hosted by some boys with some very interesting opinions.
Well, hopefully that hasn't waned.
I mean, I think our opinions on Torchwood have been particularly scalding hot, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, one of the emails that we got this week, or I think the only one we got this week, actually has a pretty scalding take as well.
Well, we've got one from Drano as well, so we got 2 emails this week.
Yeah, gotcha.
So...
Well, before we get to that, before we get to the good stuff, we have to get through the episode itself.
I actually quite enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
I think it posed a lot of interesting questions, and, I'm saddened that the end of the episode implies that it'll have absolutely no effect on anyone.
Yeah,
but,
just like every episode of Torchwood.
Okay, that's true. So at least, I guess this week they tried to explain it? The question mark. Why this episode's not going to affect anyone?
Yeah, watch, just next week, this will be like the one thing they follow up on, where Torchwood now is a big conspiracy wall about what happened over those 2 days.
I mean, they could just watch the security footage, right?
True. Maybe they wiped it as well, just so they wouldn't remember Adam or something. Who knows?
Maybe.
The drugs seem pretty fast-acting, though, so I don't know if they had time to do that.
Yeah, the retcon seems to act immediately.
Yeah, just right away, as soon as you put it in your mouth.
It's like... So one time I had a stomach ache, and I, threw up, and I guess I should warn that this story is gonna include vomit. But I threw up. I called the doctor and I was like, "Hey, I feel really bad. What do you suggest?" And they're like, "Oh, so I'll prescribe you some anti-nausea medication." So my brother went and picked it up and he brought it to me, and then I don't actually know if I've told Kiyan this story off recording or not, but I was sitting there and I started to feel nauseous. So I followed the directions. I put the tablet into my mouth, and I didn't expect it to work instantly, but it dissolved on my tongue, and then I just instantly threw up, and I was like, well, I guess it took the nausea away, technically. And that's what I was reminded of when like Jack puts the pill on his tongue and it just like he instantly just forgets Adam.
Like a pain relief medication that just like permanently paralyzes you. Takes away the pain permanently.
It's like, technically correct is the best kind of correct. Yeah, so there you go.
All right. All right. I think I'm done.
Anyway, I don't actually have any production-related information for this story.
No, neither do I. In a shock to absolutely no one.
I mean, it might be a shock to some people, I guess. There was it was on Amazon first, but I saw it on Wikipedia as well that they added scenes of Adam into the title sequence to kind of act like Adam's always been part of the team.
Huh, I did not notice that.
No, neither did I, actually. Maybe because I just tuned the intro sequence out completely now.
It's also probably because, we watch it every week and it's the same every week, so you kind of don't pay attention to it. But maybe it's also like we didn't know who Adam was or what he was until the episode started, so it's not like we would have been paying attention to like, oh, did they insert him, into the title sequence, like as if they were inserting him into their past or something,
Yeah, that's true. I do like when shows do like fun things with the title sequence. Rick and Morty had an episode where they inserted another character just into all the scenes in the title sequence because I guess the plot of that episode actually wasn't too dissimilar from this one now that I think about it, which is kind of weird. But there's like mind parasites that just insert good memories. I mean, not good memories, but memories of themselves into like people, and that's how they survive. Wow, actually sounds a lot like this episode now that I'm like saying it out loud.
Yeah.
But in that episode, the way they realize who's a mind parasite and who's not is like if they only have good memories, I think it is, of that being, because the mind parasite doesn't create bad memories, then it's a mind parasite. And then like there's the one character, Mr. Poopy Butthole, who like they shoot him and it turns out he's not a parasite. But then they like never explain like how he was in the title sequence. They never explain like how they knew him all along or like how he was a family friend who they'd never mentioned before in the like 20 episodes preceding that one. So yeah, but anyway, my point was just that it's fun when they do fun things with the title sequence. Star Trek Enterprise did it once too, where they had a whole 2-part episode set in the mirror universe, so they changed the entire title sequence. Because normally it's scenes of like progress in aviation in our timeline, like this very inspiring montage. But then when they did the scenes in the mirror universe, they swapped all of those shots for like shots of military progress and like guns and bombs, and it's actually very fun. I mean, war is not fun, but it was fun. They changed the title sequence, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean, The Prisoner does it almost every single week, even with its outro sequence as well. Check out Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast, where we are still, watching that show. I think
it'll go out, I think, 3 days after this, the finale of that season. Well, they even, like, Living in Harmony was the most explicit, where they did the Old West version of the title sequence.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but then again, it's only really fun if you notice it. Like, if no one notices it, then great.
Yeah, I had no problem noticing what was happening at the beginning of this episode, though, because, again, starts with Reese and Gwen.
In bed.
Yeah. Again.
Which is why my note is like, I swear to God, if I see Reese's ass again for the second time.
Well, we get something that's also pretty bad here, which is like shoes in like I don't know if you noticed this, but it looked like Reese was wearing shoes on his hands.
What?
Like there's just I don't know, like there's this one shot where it's like I don't know, I just don't even know what it is whatsoever. But they're wearing shoes in the bed, which is like I don't know, to me a very uncomfortable thing. Like just gives me a little shiver there. Imagine just like getting into bed with your shoes you've been walking around all day in.
On your hands?
No, just well on your feet, but maybe yeah, if you're on your hands, if you want, sure, why not? And they always do that in old movies too, where they just hop into bed with their shoes on. But that's just I don't know why that is actually. I was going to go into a whole explanation of that, but I honestly have no idea why.
Also, Reese is not wearing any clothing, so it'd be pretty weird if he was just wearing shoes. Like, that would imply that he took his pants off either over his shoes, or he took his pants off, took his underwear off, and then put his shoes on.
Yeah, I guess, but there's just I mean, watch it again. Like, there's just blue Converse in the shot.
Wow. Didn't even notice, honestly.
I think. Yeah, now I'm questioning myself. I don't know. Was this implanted? Random shoes. Okay, anyway, we can just move on. This is fine. It's all good.
Okay. All right.
Well, okay, so Gwen goes to Torchwood. She goes to work. And there's just this guy there. Just joking around with the rest of the team as if he's been there for 3 years.
They're like, ha, Adam, yeah, what a jokester. Something's fallen through the rift, so they're making cracking jokes about the rift.
Yeah. Gwen walks in. She's like, guys, like, what's going on here? Who's this?
And she's like, she says, who the hell are you? And Adam goes, just because that's what I said to you on your first date doesn't mean you can say today, remember, Gwen? And he touches her on the shoulder.
Yeah, the episode plays its hand really early with what Adam, I mean, not who Adam is, but like what Adam is doing and how he's doing it. And might have benefited the episode to keep that a mystery for a little longer. I don't know. It's just very clear.
Possibly. I actually think in my opinion, I liked that they played their hand right away, because that way you're not sitting here wondering like who Adam is and what's going on, which was already getting like annoying before they revealed how Adam was doing it, like what Adam was doing. I mean, they don't even like necessarily say it out loud until much later. So there is still an element of like, well, is he changing their memories? Is he adding new memories?
And why is he doing it is also the big
why
thing.
is he doing it? Like, the motivation is still unknown.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I can just imagine, and we always say this, like we can never know whether it would actually be better or not with a hypothetical, but I can just imagine them doing that where they don't play their hand right away and just getting really frustrated, like, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing? Why is he doing it? Like, what's going on? Like, why are they all acting as if they know him? Like, what? But anyway,
Yeah. I guess I just like being confused.
Suppose that's fair.
All the other characters though are they're acting a little off.
Yeah, I mean, Owen is a nerd now.
Yeah, he sort of lost his edge.
Tasha's just like the sex appeal of the team now. It was Ianto before, and now it's Tosh. Hey, you didn't expect that one coming, did you?
Ianto has like not changed though, as far as I can tell.
Not since last week. No. Kind of seems like Adam didn't do anything to him.
Yeah. Freaking poor Ianto, just so much of a one-off character in the role of like thrust into the role of a main character, that nobody even cares enough to like alter his mind. Except when he actually
he does change later, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's only when he's about to get to the bottom of things where Adam's like, oh shoot, I better pay attention to Ianto.
Oh shoot. Ianto figured it out because I didn't do anything to him.
Yeah, it is almost like there's a certain amount of like, this isn't exactly the right term, but there's like a certain amount of schadenfreude that comes with like how ignored and glossed over Ianto always is.
I mean, I think it's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Billis was right. He was just like the errand boy thrust into something too big for his. I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor. But yeah, yeah. It's early. That's all I have to say.
It's early.
Yeah.
Early in the morning. Don't actually remember what song this is, so I don't remember the rest of the lyrics. Guess I'll have to look it up for the show notes.
Or just leave it to me.
So I have a note here that said, well, it's not like Adam could just fake his credentials, but then we see Adam faking his credentials. So we see him modifying his personnel record, and Tasha's like, hey, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And he's like, what?
Just he gives some excuse, right? He's just like, just updating my address or something like that.
And then he just plays it off by being like, hey, Tosh, remember that today's our 1 year anniversary?
Yeah, at first I thought this might be his motivation, was like getting with Tosh. Because he touches her on the shoulder and he implants memories of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And they just start making out like right then and there. Owen walks in, he's just like, huh?
As usual, just one of the Torchwood team falling in love with the alien of the week.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like Jack says this week, he forced it on her, giving it quite uncomfortable, rapey connotations. But still, like, the Torchwood writing team, in my opinion, needs to find like another plot conceit.
Yeah, diversify your efforts here. I'm
surprised to hear you saying that, since I remember you saying multiple times on, our podcast that you like it when shows do the same thing over again.
But only if I like what they're doing over again.
All right. I mean, I guess I can understand that. Like, it's only good done again if it was good the first time, kind of.
Yeah,
or
until
good,
you
like
just
if
get,
you enjoyed it.
Yeah, or until you get so Stockholmed into it being shoved down your throat that you just end up enjoying it.
That's like beer. Everyone's like, beer is an acquired taste, and I'm like, no, that just means it's Stockholm syndrome. They're like, you just got to keep drinking it till you like it. I'm like, no.
You just socially drink like a drink with the appearance and taste of piss until you convince yourself that you like it.
Yeah, beer actually tastes terrible. This is a scowling hot take on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, Owen and Tosh have essentially switched roles because Owen now gifts Tosh a little screen cleaner.
Right.
It looks like a monkey or something. I forget, or like a rat.
It looks like a rat because she says, "Wow, another rodent to watch my screen," referring to Owen. And Owen's like, "Oh, oof." I actually felt bad for nerd Owen in this episode, just getting shit on by Tosh the whole episode. Like, okay, Owen just like dumps all over Tosh every week, but that's because Owen regularly is kind of an ass. Tosh just all of a sudden just being a total like dick to Owen was just like, ah, oh, poor nerd Owen who has no self-confidence and is like a complete nobody now. She's just, wrecking him. And even like at the same time, it's not like Owen ever referred to like basically straight up called Tosh ugly at any point. He just said like, never gonna happen, or not my type. Whereas here, Tosh is just like, you look like a rodent, Owen. And later on, Owen is like, do you really think I look like a rodent? She just dodges the question and goes, we should go work now.
Yeah, I guess there is an element of that. We also learned that Owen is the way he is because his mother never loved him or whatever, so...
Yeah, we learned that Owen had like a messed up childhood, and I was like, oof, we've been dumping on Owen every week, and then just find out, like, I guess we could have assumed that he's, in TV, most dicks are dicks because they had like a really messed up childhood, but I guess I just never assumed.
Yeah, for some reason this never crossed my mind, and now that it's been revealed, it's like, well, oh yeah, duh, like...
Now that's been revealed, I'm like, damn, what are all the mean things we say? I mean, Owen is still like a wild card and just like, the craziest person on the team. But
what a twist! Trust your doctor now on Owen's side. Who could have foreseen this?
I don't know if I'm on Owen's side. I was just, reconsidering or examining some of the things we've said about Owen in the past. I didn't change my mind about any of them. I just examined them.
Yeah, I took a real critical eye to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of taking a critical eye, Gwen goes home and turns a critical eye on Reese when he walks on screen because she doesn't remember who he is, and she ends up pulling a gun on him.
And Reese is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, well, Reese is just dumbfounded. He just
understandably.
Yeah. And he starts trying to explain, but she's like, she threatens to shoot him, basically, if he does anything or says anything. So she calls in Jack and Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, they still remember Reese.
Yeah, so I was, kind of wondering if they were going to do this with the rest of the team remembering Reese or not, or if it was going to be like everybody forgot who Reese was. But I'm kind of glad in the end that they went for, well, just Gwen forgot who Reese was.
Yeah, otherwise Reese probably would have gotten a bullet through his forehead.
Yeah, and Reese would be dead, for the second time in the show.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about this sort of era, of Doctor Who, is if you die, you can just come back. And that was more pronounced in Moffat Who, but still, even here, But no, they recognize him, and they're just like, well, Gwen, you're going to have to just learn to remember, or, you're just going to have to remember Reese.
Yeah, you'll just have to remember.
Which, if you put yourself in Gwen's shoes for a second, like, this is an extremely frightening situation, right? Where you're like, especially later on she starts to remember a little bit, but like, especially later when they like have to do all this stuff together, and she doesn't remember who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Imagine just, like, a stranger being thrust into your life. And she even says that with
like, your boss telling you to stay there overnight with him.
Yeah. And, she even picks up those pictures of them, and she's like, yeah, she thinks he's a stalker who has inserted photoshopped pictures of them into her apartment. Which, all she needs to do is turn on the computer and see, like, all the good times they had together on their desktop background.
Photoshopped.
Yeah, true.
Deepfakes. She could just call her mom and be like, Mom, do you know a Reese? And a mom would be like, yeah, Reese is your fiance. That would actually probably make it worse. I mean, imagine not only just not remembering your fiance, but everybody else in the world is just convinced that he's your fiance. Like, imagine just waking up one day and just everyone in the world is like, oh yeah, that's Rebecca, your fiance, and you're just like, what? I was sat there struggling to think of a girl's name who wasn't like
wasn't Gwen. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I was struggling so hard to like find a girl's name. Wow, people are going to listen to this and just watch my brain short circuit in real time. Oh well.
Well, at this point they go on a little investigation. Oh, first actually Owen again has a scene where he gifts Tosh a smoked salmon sandwich. Really shakes up the container it's in first as well, so gotta imagine that sandwich is totally destroyed. But the reason why they're doing all of this is because Torchwood has come into possession of an alien box that they can't open.
Yeah. This sandwich really shakes up the Torchwood sandwich meta too, Like Owen shakes up the box, we're getting finally a somewhat regular sandwich on Torchwood. After the last one, which was like cucumber and something.
It was it's pickle and cheese, which again, we mentioned last week. Isn't that out of the ordinary? It just seems to be lacking a little bit, Oh shit.
For 2 weeks in a row, Kiyan's recording studio is falling apart, even though I think I cut that out of last week's episode.
No, you didn't, actually. Yeah.
That's right. I cut half of it out.
Yeah.
I left in the funny bit, and I cut out the unfunny bit.
Well, I don't know how you're going to cut all of this, but these pillows have a very delicate balance to them. And one false move and everything just comes tumbling down.
The continuing saga of Kiyan and his homemade recording studio. What's hilarious is that I just sit at my desk and record, and I don't even make any special effort for soundproofing.
You still get better quality than me. Wow.
Maybe it's because I'm not using a free and open source program that's been like Frankenstein together by probably hundreds of programmers over the course of a decade.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, Reese should probably make a bigger deal about like who the hell Adam is, because Jack just says, "Oh, that's Adam," and Reese like doesn't react.
Yeah, true.
But Reese should know everyone in Torchwood now, not only because he's been there, but because he was introduced to all of them, and like this is implied to not take place like the day after meet. So I would assume that Gwen's been telling him, stories about what they've been doing in Torchwood, since I guess he just has like security clearance now implicitly.
What if it is the day after meet? What if every Torchwood episode that doesn't explicitly tell you information that makes it known that it's been a little bit of time, what if those just take place back to back?
You're right. What if?
Kind of like how the first, half a season of Doctor Who with Hartnell, just like all the stories take place back to back. Like Unearthly Child goes right into the Daleks, goes right into Edge of Destruction. I think that's as far as they get, but
like most of the episodes do run right into each other, because I guess that was their method of keeping people hooked, was ending on a cliffhanger that lightly teased the next serial.
Yeah. How long did these people go without sleep?
You're in a time machine, so maybe it just automatically makes you feel rested because you're traveling through time. I don't know. I'm more impressed that Big Finish somehow found like places to shove stories into the First Doctor's era. And not only like a trivial amount, like a solid 20-something stories.
Well, they're Big Finish. That's what their jobs are.
So, it's time for the Amazon X-Ray fun fact of the week. This week's is really boring again. I'm just gonna brace you. Eve Miles married her boyfriend of 14 years and the father of her 3-year-old in 2013. And that's it.
Wow, where's the drama? Where's the... Where? Just where? You know, TV actors really need to step up their game. Their lives are too normal. Their career is too much of just a job that they go to, and they have their own life outside of acting, whereas like Hollywood and big name actors are not that.
Well, I think they still have a life outside of acting.
I guess. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
Think that perhaps they have less time for it. Evidently, they still have time to cheat on their spouses. I feel like the spousal cheating rate in Hollywood is like substantially higher than the rest of the population.
But that makes it more okay. You know, if everyone's doing
no,
it...
it doesn't. No. No. That's like the purge. If we're all murdering someone, murder is okay. Like, no.
Yes. Well, look, this is a conflict of morals and ethics, so, you know, that's... I just don't know what to say about that.
Well, you brought it up, sir.
Well, look, I don't know which... Is morals the personal one, or is that ethics? I think morals is for society, and ethics is... Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know.
I believe... Well, yeah, whatever. We're not a moral and ethics podcast.
I don't know. I just don't know. But as all this is going down, Jack has been seeing visions of a little kid, which he decides to follow into the sewers. He tells Adam that he's following a weevil, I think. Although, yeah, he's actually following these visions. They wind up on top of a parking garage or something, and it's raining heavily, and Adam... At this point in the episode, it's not clear. I thought he was just convincing Jack to talk about his past, but later on that is called into question.
It kind of seems like, and my interpretation of it was that Adam messing with his memory kind of unlocked these memories that Jack had repressed. Kind of like how for Gwen, he accidentally erased memories of Reese. He did the opposite, erased memories of Reese.
Yeah. Yeah. But Jack remembers, Gray, his little brother, who died.
Well, we don't know if he died.
It's true.
So I guess the planet they lived on was bombed to hell, invaded something. Maybe it wasn't... I guess it's not clear who's invading them, if it was someone on the planet or if it's another planet or another species.
I think he said it was alien invaders. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I just don't know. But during the attack, his dad sends him and Gray away and goes back for their mom, who ends up surviving. Unluckily for them. And Jack and Gray are running, and somehow Gray's hand slips out of his, and then he's like, oh shoot, where's Gray? And he runs back to the house to look for Gray and finds his dad's body.
Yep. And, well, as is the case, in every future society, people are just wearing medieval-style tunics, so can't wait for that to come back into fashion, Really hope it's within my lifetime. But yeah, the important thing here is that Gray's dead.
Or so Jack thinks. Well, Jack thinks he's dead but isn't convinced, and apparently looked for him for years.
Yeah, that is true. Really is just set up for Gray to come back. I thought they were going to go for like Adam is Gray or something.
Da-na-na-na. Well, I don't know. I feel like Gray's going to come back when John Hart comes back, because John was like, I found Gray before vanishing into the void.
Yeah, it's probably going to be something like John Hart is Gray, or, I don't know.
No, that'd imply weird incestuous things.
Yeah, it
Don't
would.
think even Torchwood would touch that with a 10-foot pole.
No, that's why they're going to go for it, Kind of like how Blake Seven just threw caution to the wind and went for it.
Okay, but Blake Seven obfuscated it by being
really.
Like, she's my dad's brother's daughter.
Well, that was Blake obfuscating it, and Blake Seven, the show, calling attention to it through its character's feeble attempts to obfuscate it.
Jeez.
Check out Zenith, the Blake Seven podcast for all your incest needs.
No, I mean, that's not why you should check it out.
Yeah, because if it is, you'll be really disappointed that it's only on one of the 54 episodes.
And somehow has become the recurring meme we remember from that show, as opposed to like all the good things that show did.
Yeah, the in-depth characters, the compelling plots, the creative settings and planets, just all of that just down the drain of memory. And here we are talking about Blake and Inga.
Inga's also like one of the only story-specific characters whose names I can even remember.
Yeah, you don't remember Dr. Plaxton?
No.
She was the one who sacrificed herself in the episode with the space rats or whatever they were called. That's not the real name, but those ATV riding people.
Oh, they were the like space rats or whatever. My favorite scene from Blake Seven is still Avon opening a door, running in, and kicking down the chair in the center of the room.
Yeah, and animals. Yeah, how can you say you don't remember Justin? That other really weird and, just, God, what the hell were they thinking style relationship?
Anyway, let's get back to the story. Owen decides to just confess his love for Tosh. He's aware that Tosh is dating Adam. He's aware that Tosh is off the table, but he just decides to just go for it in the empty conference room. And he says, Tosh, you know what? I love you. And I loved you like since the moment I met you. He basically just playing into the stereotypes of the like lonely nerd who happens to be like a neckbeard, just confessing their love to someone they met like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, where the hell did he think this was going to end up? Like, she just goes like, "What the hell, Owen?" And he just looks so surprised.
Yeah, he looks shocked. He like did not comprehend that it would be possible for Tosh to turn him down.
He didn't take into account the 99% chance of failure.
He saw that 1%, and it was like, that's good enough for me.
It's shown through the fog of doubt. So I actually really like how Bern Gorman delivers this, because as soon as Tosh walks out, like, disgusted, he just goes like, oh.
Great.
It would be, now that I think about it, it would actually be really weird to see Bern Gorman in a role. I've never seen Bern Gorman in any other role than Owen, but it would be such a weird experience to see him in a role where he's not just like a wild card. And this is kind of a taste of that, but you know that Adam is messing with their minds, so it doesn't feel too out of place. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I found out recently, when we do Britain's 10 actors, I don't think we ever really did much on like the main cast.
Oh wow, yeah.
But I found out recently that like Naoko Mori actually has like quite a substantial career
Yeah. Yeah.
in like including in like a sitcom that my roommate's been watching, Absolutely Fabulous, which is apparently extremely well known in in England.
Hmm.
She was even in Mamma Mia 2. Like I was like, whoa! She plays Yoko Ono in a movie about John Lennon, starring Christopher Eccleston as John
Wow.
Lennon.
Wow.
So she's also in something I think we should watch for Inevitable, just because I think it would be hilarious. But Jerry Anderson, creator of Thunderbirds and the Cybermen, created a Japanese anime series called Firestorm. It's 26 episodes long. It's perfect for Inevitable.
No, but I mean, we just this is not a discussion for here now. But like we discussed, we don't want to go with animated series for another role. But yeah,
That's true. Still think it would be hilarious. But she was in a reboot of Jerry Anderson's Firestorm in 2018, apparently. Anyway, that's enough of that. Random side quest.
yeah, because Reese and Gwen are getting reacquainted at the grocery store.
Yeah, the like this was so bizarre to me, but also hilarious. The like cashier just walks
He
away
just he's on a call and he just takes the call and just walks away.
instead of like serving Reese and then calling the person who's calling him, because Reese is like the only guy in the store buying anything, so he could easily just serve him and then leave. And then so Reese just starts yelling at him, and Gwen starts laughing, and I'm like, wow, Gwen, now I see why you like Reese. It's because you like all the angry aspects of him, the like the not socially acceptable
Yeah, it's like
things.
you always like hate in others. You always like criticize in others what you hate in yourself. And this really goes to show you that Gwen just sees herself as a saint, just a perfect person, because she's not hating Reese for the sins that he commits that she should be seeing in herself, but isn't.
Well, that's why we're here. We're peeling back the onion that is Gwen revealing her sins to the world.
God, yeah, and it is. Well, it is also obviously we're just joking here, but like it is kind of telling that like the thing that gets Gwen to remember a bit about Reese is like him getting mad at just random people.
She even says like that was his nickname, Reese the Rant. Like when he's in public, he would rant about people who were pissing him off, and I'm like, whoa, holy shoot!
Yeah, but
Meanwhile, back at Torchwood HQ, Ianto, Owen, and Tosh are investigating some sort of, they're investigating this box that fell through the rift, and it's made of wood. But they can't remember like when it came through, so Ianto's like, "Well, I'll go check my diary because I record everything." And he looks in his
keeps a
diary.
diary handwritten.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the biggest revelation of this episode. But he looks in the diary and discovers that Adam is nowhere to be found. Understandably, he finds this suspicious. Somehow, Adam has like the ability to teleport. It seemed like, I don't know if you got that impression.
Not really. I mean, he does. He did just show up, but I thought he just kind of knew what Ianto was about to figure out, so he just kind of followed him.
I guess the reason why I thought that was because he was busy talking with Jack when that was all going down. Like, he wasn't there when Owen, Tosh, and Ianto were talking about analyzing the box.
Yeah, true.
And then he just appears.
Yeah, maybe he does have some sort of teleportation ability. I mean, the show never really explains.
unfortunately.
Well, Adam decides, weirdly enough, instead of, just altering Ianto's memory of him, reading his diary or, just something, anything, that would seem to make sense here, he decides to turn Ianto into a serial killer.
Yeah.
Touches his shoulder and implants memories of him killing 3 people.
Mm-hmm. This is really well done, I think, because we're cutting between shots of Adam grabbing Ianto's head and shoulder and being like, "Remember," and then shots of Ianto like stalking these women in alleyways in the rain, and then him like weeping in the alley as Adam leaves, having broken Ianto's mind.
Right. Ianto pretty much immediately confronts Jack over this. So Jack pulls out an alien or just really high tech lie detector.
Alien, like, let's be honest.
Yeah. And it turns out that everything he's saying about him being a murderer is true, but Jack doesn't believe it. It's not actually true. He just thinks it's true, which is why the lie detector isn't picking it up. If that wasn't clear. So they decide, I think, at this point to check the security camera footage. Turns out that Adam didn't realize that Torchwood was recording everything at all times.
Yeah. Kind of wonder how he didn't figure that out.
He had only been there for what?
Yeah, but
he
was in there modifying his personnel records, so you would think while he was in there, he'd be like, "Oh shoot, they're recording everything."
Yeah, guess he just didn't figure it out. But Jack's figured it out, and so the next day he confronts.
Well, first
Adam
there's this.
By pulling a gun on him.
There's a very tense scene where. There's a tense scene where Adam comes in. Him and Tosh spent the night together, and everyone who knows what Adam's done, so that's Ianto and Jack, are like kind of staring him down. Owen drops off a bouquet of flowers on Tosh's desk to apologize for confessing his love, I guess, and making it awkward. And they're all it's very tense, I guess is my point, because some people are staring Adam down, some people don't even know. And you don't know what's going to happen. It's like a powder keg ready to go.
Yeah, and I did not think that Jack would just walk up and pull his gun on Adam, but that's exactly what happens.
And then Tosh pulls an Owen, but also an Ianto, and pulls a gun on Jack.
And all of them, they've all done something like, well, Ianto and Owen have actually done this, but they've all sort of metaphorically done this time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
She pulls her gun. Looks way more powerful than the revolver that Jack carries around.
Yeah, but gun's a gun. If it kills someone, it kills someone.
Yeah, true.
But Ianto's standing behind Tosh and disarms her.
Yeah, Ianto just takes her out.
I was like, heck yeah, Ianto coming through.
Yeah, so Jack locks up Adam, and I think this is the point where we figure out what Adam is. He says that he's never named his species or his, whatever type of creature he is, but he survives as long as people can remember him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty unclear how all this works, but that's okay. I don't think the episode needs to be derailed into, explanations of this, but he implanted all his memory. He implanted memories of himself into all of them, and is feeding off their memories, which he says the more unique the memories are, the greater source of nourishment they are, something along those lines, which is why Torchwood is the perfect target.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some things get muddled along the way, which is why which is why Owen and Tasha's personalities got swapped, and which is why Gwen forgot Reese, and why Jack's been remembering Gray, even though he suppressed the memories / his father.
Mm-hmm. So they sit down at the conference table, and Jack tells them all they have to find. So there's this interesting thing that this episode touches upon, which is like our memories make us who we are. And that's why people's personalities changed, is because their memories changed. So Jack entreats the Torchwood team to find a memory that defines who they are or who they were before Adam showed up, and to hang on to that.
Yeah, they do this in like a little seance style fashion.
And then it's revealed, or Jack figures out, that Adam exists because people remember that he exists. And if they all forget who Adam is, then he'll die, basically. Yeah. So Jack wants them to hang on to this memory, and then he gives all of them retcon.
Yeah, and as he's doing this, he is he's like comforting them or whatever, because they're revealing like some fears in their past, or all their memories have to do with something bad.
Except for Gwen, who just remembers Reese shouting at people and telling jokes at the cafeteria table when they met.
Yeah, because we glossed over this, but we also learn how Gwen and Reese met in this episode, which is that they just met in college.
Yep.
So pretty boring there, just true to life. Eve Miles' story was pretty boring, and so is Gwen's. But yeah, the other ones besides Gwen were, I think Tosh was like, she remembers like being isolated and feeling alone and stuff, and that's what she hangs on to.
Yeah. Owen hangs on to his mom screaming at him and ruining his birthday as a kid.
And what's perhaps even more, unnerving, which is that he became a doctor so that he could save lives, as opposed to like what he thought was his mom ruining his life. But he felt he could never like, what was it? He's like, it doesn't matter how many I saved, like mine was ruined or something. I don't know. He says something like that.
Yeah, I didn't write down the exact quote, unfortunately, but it's something like that.
Yeah, and Ianto just, classic Ianto, we don't learn jack about him. He just remembers Lisa.
I had a note here that's like, did Adam insert himself into the firing line in Ianto's memory? I suppose he probably didn't, but who knows?
Yeah, it might have been cool in this episode to see shots of other episodes with Adam inserted into the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess that probably would have been just too much trouble, more trouble than it was worth.
Yeah, I don't know how technically possible that would be.
I mean, you could just play the footage and like CGI Adam into it, but like,
yeah, but that could still be pretty difficult.
Be pretty difficult. Probably would look janky, and probably would take a lot of time and money that they didn't want to spend on it. So
would probably only look janky because Torchwood has no budget.
Comparatively, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, okay, compared to Trust Your Doctor, Torchwood has a freaking huge budget. Compared to Trust Your Doctor, Torchwood would be like the Lamborghini of podcasts if we had that budget, but instead we're more like the Volvo at best. Probably more like the Lada.
Well, it works. The retcon works immediately.
Yeah, it also just knocks them out. They like pass out.
Jack goes to tell Adam that it's all over, and Adam knows because he's like fading from existence.
Yeah. And then he offers to give Jack back his best memory of his dad and his brother, But then he does a sneaky and inserts himself into the memory. So as long as Jack remembers it, Adam will still exist. And then he basically tells Jack that like Jack doesn't have the strength to wipe out that memory just to kill Adam. And Jack basically, I mean, Jack's weeping, but he's basically like won a bet.
Yeah, and he takes the retcon, and yeah, it just works right then and there again.
And then Adam fades. And then we cut to them just chilling in the hub the next day, I guess. And they're like, guys, we lost 2 days. But I guess it's the same day when they wake up. And Tasha's like, somebody left me flowers. Oh, it's got a note from Owen. Sorry for everything. And she's like, wow, Owen, interesting. I was like, doesn't sound like me. I never apologize.
Yeah, so Owen has his edge back a bit. Tosh is back to normal. The rest of them are back to normal. And presumably this also means that Gwen now remembers Reese because she forgot that she ever forgot him. Although Reese still remembers, right? Like,
yeah,
he remembers going through that.
Reese is going to remember this whole thing.
Unless they retcon him too. Gwen's done it before. Maybe she just slipped a little pill. Just roofied him a little bit. Slightly.
Yeah, so I was like, I guess by forgetting Adam, they also forget the memories that Adam implanted in them. Is that how you interpreted this? That's how I got it.
I guess, unless Ianto is still just racked with the guilt of being a serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if that's the thing they bring back next week. Ianto's like, so Jack, by the way, I killed 3 women.
Yeah, and this time they don't have anything to explain why that is the case. And they just think it's true.
Yeah, jeez. That would be dark.
The episode ends with them finally getting the box open, and inside it's just sand.
Yeah, so before Adam died, he revealed that the box holds, like, Jack's memory, like his lost memory of Gray or something like that.
Yeah, which I guess was just the sand from the beach where he thought Gray died. Or something.
Something. It's just like one of the lost memories he has of his dad and Gray, and like if he kills Adam, that'll be gone. So suitably, when Jack opens the box, all that pours out is dust and ash.
Yeah.
Alas.
Sucks to be Jack.
I mean, Jack, that's the thing. Jack doesn't know what he's lost. So, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Does it really suck if you don't know what you lost?
Maybe he has like a lingering sense of like, you know, when you're forgetting something and you forget what you're forgetting, but you still know that you're forgetting. I don't know.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. So that's how it ends. And we get a preview of next week with like the funniest scene in Torchwood so far in the preview, which is like Ianto's in the hub and he gets like someone shoots at him and he jumps out of the way, and it's just like the staging of the whole thing looked very funny. So can't wait to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and we get that Martha will be in next week's episode. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. Time to see more crossover between Doctor Who and Torchwood. Just like we need more crossover between Trust Your Doctor and Inevitable. The most ambitious crossover of all time. Although I do think we actually unironically have the ability to cross over Inevitable with Triple Play if we ever want to. We were talking about that recently.
Yeah. Triple Play is our other podcast, our movie trilogy podcast. Check that out. Desperately needs listeners.
It'll be coming back soon. A couple weeks. because this week after this episode goes out, we'll be releasing the finale to Inevitable, and then we'll probably have a week off before Triple Play starts. So it'll be back soon, I guess is my point. Back soon with episodes we recorded before quarantine even started.
Yeah, last December.
This is gonna be wild.
Well, speaking of things that are wild, this episode, for all that goes down in it, for like the roller coaster of plot beats and emotions that are in this episode, I honestly don't really have too much to say about it. I mean, I kind of just watched it and went, huh, okay then.
So, yeah, I've actually got a quote. Remember when we used to do those? And the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because it kind of dovetails into some short little thing I want to talk about. But, and I'm surprised you didn't pick up on this because it's like right in your wheelhouse, Kiyan. But Adam, when he's inserting the memories into Yanto, he says something that I think is really interesting. He says, "All human record is a lie. You twist it into what you want to believe." Which, like, I know we've talked about this on the show before, like the idea that written record is infallible is actually like it's not a correct thought, because what's recorded is always determined by who decides to record it, and then what details they decide to record. Something else I'm going to talk about on Inevitable this week as well. But the idea that human record, we consider this to be this like intractable, infallible, completely correct thing, when in reality, like, history itself is written by certain people, and then that history is then taken and interpreted by you or me or basically anyone, and so everybody actually has like a different personal kind of experience with human history. So, and I think that also kind of plays into the like memory thing in this episode, where like memory is fallible, and if you remember something, that doesn't actually mean that it happened that way, or that it even necessarily happened at all. And that again also plays into the idea that we think human record is completely correct, whereas in reality it's really nebulous, and we don't really have a measure of like how correct all of our history and recordings are.
Yeah, like that Samuel Taylor Coleridge poem, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, where like part of the poem is like these footnotes / glossary side note things it's all written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, but like these are supposed to be like a fictional gloss by like a later reader, because the poem is supposed to be this ancient thing that's not. And then like the idea is that someone read it and annotated it, but like the annotations don't fit what's going on like whatsoever in the poem, which is kind of funny because like the poem gets really dark, and the annotations are just like an angel descended from heaven, and like what the actual writing of the poem is like, it's talking about these like gruesome like beasts, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, just interesting. I kind of like it when stories play on the idea of like memory and like the nature of reality. And I guess that's why I like Philip K. Dick's writing so much, because that's like basically all he writes about is like what's real and what's not.
Yeah, because he's a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah, but like, I don't know if you've ever read Ubik, which is like, I guess widely considered to be like his best work. But that book was actually, when I first finished it, I thought the ending like ruined it, but after giving it some space and thinking about it, I actually realized that the ending is like completely brilliant and the best part of the book. And like it basically completely reframes the rest of the book. I know you mentioned one time that like there's endings that like reframe your interpretation of the entire work, and I realized like the ending to Ubik like basically does that and reframes the entire rest of the work, and I was like, wow, this is actually wild. Like, explaining the ending will require explaining basically the entirety of the plot, so I'm not going to do it here, but I encourage anyone who's interested to like look up the Wikipedia plot summary, or like just read the book, because it's actually like really good.
Yeah, maybe I should read that.
But anyway, This is like the most Philip K. Dick-esque that the show has been so far. Somehow don't think it'll ever get any more wild like
Yeah, that's
that.
true. There's a Philip K. Dick short story called Electric Ant that, now that I think about it, is pretty similar to this. But it actually, and I wasn't even thinking of it when I said this at the beginning, but it does more of the whole, like, you have no idea what's going on thing. And then at the end, it's like near the end where it's like, oh.
Oh. Huh. I also just wanted to touch briefly on this episode, again, as like a parallel to Series 12, because once again, the audience were put, and surprisingly for this, I guess, episode, we're put in a position where we know more than everyone in the episode, including Jack. That we as the audience now like know who Gray is, know like what Jack is tortured about, and Jack knows, but that memory is buried. But it's interesting that we as the audience now are in this position where we know more than anyone in the show, which is kind of in some ways similar to some of the things that are going on in Series 12, where we're put in this position where we're learning who the timeless child is, along with the Doctor. The Doctor's repressed this memory, not herself. It was kind of forced upon her that it was repressed. And then we all find out what it is, or at least like we know, the Doctor knows, but the fam doesn't know still. I guess that's something we never talked about on that episode, that like the fam still doesn't like know about this whole timeless children thing.
Yeah, greatest hits of Chris Chibnall.
Yeah, kind of weird that, I guess it's not weird. It's just interesting that like there's so many parallels between Torchwood and Chibnall's Doctor Who that I'm noticing, that we're noticing, I guess. Especially with like, Jack as a kid, like lived on a weird planet that got attacked. Kind of seems similar to like the Doctor's childhood. She like fell through the time vortex. Very interesting. Then they only find out after living for like 500 years what's going on with their childhood.
Jack's childhood also looks very similar to Gallifrey. I mean, just the sandy landscape. I know they're on a beach, but like, and the towering sci-fi
like
city behind them.
Cubicle building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell
I agree.
I couldn't tell if that was, I guess that was the entire city, but I was like, is that Jack's like house? Does he just live in this massive structure? But I guess it's a whole city.
I think that was the whole city.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, those are the two things I wanted to talk about. So I guess we can go into our segments. Unless you have something you want to talk about.
No, I don't. So, but maybe we should start with how shaken up Jack is, because this was really an episode where that could be the case if he didn't forget everything at the end.
I think Jack's not going to be affected at all. I think if he hadn't had his mind erased, he'd be like devastated. He'd be like, he would be like destroyed if he hadn't had his mind erased. But since his mind was erased at the end, I don't think he's actually going to be affected basically at all for, from the results or things that happen in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would have to agree there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I struggled, though, with my wild card Owen moment. Although I guess, he's, even with his changed personality, like, him just confessing to Tosh, like, that's a pretty wild card thing to do. So.
Yeah, mine was him just confessing his love to Tosh. I was like, even in his more docile, nerdy state, he still finds ways to surprise us.
Tosh's tech.
Yeah, I had nothing for this one this week.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything. I mean, she figures out that the box is made of wood, so she obviously used some sort of machinery to do that. Some sort of...
But what is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the big one, 7 deadly sins of Gwen.
Oh boy. Yeah, so I didn't write them down this week. Maybe I should have, because I think there's a lot. There's lust, first and foremost.
Yeah, lust. She admits that she's in love with Jack. There's that.
Yeah. There's anger, I guess, when she doesn't know who Reese is and she's confronting him in the apartment, Yeah. So I don't care about circumstances.
Context irrelevant. No gluttony agreed, really. Maybe a little bit of sloth because she does absolutely nothing to like try and solve the episode, and in fact, like, doesn't really want to do anything. Doesn't want anything to do with Reese, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But she also like goes shopping with Reese instead of like going into Torchwood that day.
Ooh, yeah, not a good look there, Glenn. Yeah, sloth. Throw sloth up.
Ding on the board. Dad, we should have kept track of how many times she committed every sin, so when she gets written out, we could have been like, so she committed gluttony 26 times or something. I don't know. And I think that's all of them.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the Ignore Ianto segment of the week.
Check.
Which dovetails nicely into this email. Hi guys, I'm a recent listener, began a couple months ago, and I'm loving your Torchwood recaps so far. It's very generous of you to call them recaps. So we stray off topic so much, but anyway. I have to echo fan opinion, where seasons 1 to 3 escalate in quality, followed by a sharp decrease to season 4. So luckily you have heaps of good ahead of you. Just a suggestion that you maybe add a segment for Ianto too, as he is a larger part of this season, and even Tosh, a criminally underutilized character, has one. Maybe best line or facial expression of the episode? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sextuple question mark. Just a personal opinion that I'd love to have on the record too is that I hate Gwen. She's just too much of a Mary Sue and basically completely useless to the team. What is her skill? Jack is the leader and has great knowledge of the universe and aliens. Owen is their medic. Tosh is a tech master, and Ianto seems to be able to do the incredibly large amount of paperwork Torchwood must amass and still has the time spare to flirt with Jack. What possible skill could Gwen add to that? No question mark. Her empathy? Sorry for the rant, but I kind of just set myself off. Great job with the podcast and keep it up. Eleanor. Well, thanks a lot for reaching out, Eleanor. I don't think we've ever had an email from you before, so it's nice to hear from you, and it's nice to hear that you're enjoying the show, first off.
Yeah, as for what, Gwen could contribute, there's always sin.
Also, I'd like to say Ianto seems to be like almost like the bodyguard. At least that was the way he would seem to be pitched in the first couple episodes of season 1, where he was the one like guarding Torchwood's entrance.
And even Meat as well. I mean, he takes a couple guys down in Meat.
That's true. But yeah, Gwen, like, I think we kind of touched on this in Arrival, like, what is Gwen going to bring to the team? And yeah, it kind of just seems to be like her empathy. Whatever that means to you. And yeah, I mean, I guess she's got like police contacts. What is his name? Andy? Alan? Andy? PC Andy?
Yeah, PC Andy, yeah.
He comes back every so often. PC Andy, whose appearance in one episode led to an Amazon fun fact that like spoiled something major for the show. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what other skill she could, add, but she found Torchwood, so she's in Torchwood.
Yeah, that's basically the rule.
Yeah, and they even touch on that in this episode where it's like Jack, I forget if he says this to Ianto or Adam, but he talks about recruiting them. And I was like, you don't recruit people, Jack. You just wait for them to waltz on in.
Yeah. Jack, my boy. What are you just what are you doing? So we actually have two other emails. I know this is weird that during the podcast, something we said on the podcast became incorrect, but during the recording of the podcast, we received yet another email about Torchwood. So at the beginning, we said that there were two emails, but now there are actually three. So let's go into Sergeant Drano's email. Torchwood Adam, greetings my old friends who have known me for 3 years now. Adam, pretty good one I think. When Gwen first arrives at work and Adam is acting like he's been there the whole time for just a few seconds, I wondered if the show had done some kind of time jump and Torchwood suddenly has more personnel. I wondered that right up until the point that Gwen goes, who the hell is that? Nice. Adam has one of those faces that makes you want to punch him. The leather members-only jacket is classic D-bag styling. I own at least two of those. Great performance by Bern Gorman as Dorky O, and I love the call-out that he looks like some sort of rodent. Confident, sexy Tosh was amusing too. Jack's hypnotic meditation seance thing was a little goofy to me, but I guess it worked. I do like that Ianto is still thinking about Lisa. Honorable mention to the Gwen forgets Reese plot. Sergeant Drano, Station 7, The Door. You know, the first time I read the first line of this email, you know, my old friends who have known me for 3 years, I thought it was just, you know, reality. Because, I mean, we've known him since, I guess, 2018 when we did Zenith. So, didn't realize at the time it was a massive spoiler for the episode, in a way.
Yeah, true.
But, yeah, good, you know, maybe you don't want to admit that, like... the leather jacket is classic D-bag styling and then be like, yes, I owned a couple of those myself. And then we have...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you do. Maybe admitting it diffuses the, like... what am I trying to say? Diffuses the meaning of it.
Yeah, it's like when you're wearing like a really stupid shirt and like you make fun of it before anyone else can or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we have one last email from Steven. More Torchwood stuff. Hey guys, I know I've mentioned on the show that with John Hurt being mentioned in Torchwood, he exists as an actor within Doctor Who, and that maybe the Eighth Doctor thought of him as he regenerated. A friend from Sussex University Doctor Who Society actually pointed out something that might be further evidence of this. Some of us watched The Night of the Doctor together via Discord, and when the Doctor asks in reference to the drink that will regenerate him, will it hurt? My friend said, it will John hurt. I previously thought that maybe the Doctor felt like his chest was bursting, and maybe he thought of John Hurt in that moment. After all, we know the 10th Doctor mentions Alien in the animated special Dreamland, and the 12th Doctor describes the film as offensive at Last Christmas. But maybe it was just 8 thinking of whether or not the regeneration would hurt, and then he probably thought of John Hurt for that reason as he became the War Doctor. Speaking of the War Doctor, it was announced recently that the War Doctor has been recast by Big Finish. They're using an impressionist named Jonathan Carley, who I think did a really good job in that YouTube video Doctors Assemble. Apparently he's playing a younger War Doctor. However, I've heard people say that it feels like an insult to John Hurt's memory, seeing how he passed away 3 years ago. Personally, I feel like John Hurt probably would have been okay with it. What do you think? Cheers, Stephen.
Yeah, I had heard that as well, that he was getting recast. Which is like, what else are you going to do, you know? Like... what else can you do? So I don't think it's like disrespectful or anything like that. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the argument, but like, I guess my question is, how is that any more disrespectful than like Big Finish using impressionists for doctors who are still alive, like Christopher Eccleston and Matt Smith, like
or recasting Dana, in their Blake 7
and also
audios.
recasting Dana.
Or hell, even getting, you know, having what's his name play the first Doctor. I mean, William Hartnell obviously passed away like a long time ago. So, what, are you just going to abandon the first Doctor character even when you really want to bring him back for specials and stuff?
Yeah, I also feel like the characters kind of, in a way, transcend the actors who play them.
Oh yeah,
and that it's not like there's a moratorium on ever using that character again when the actor dies.
Especially in a show like Doctor Who, where even when even the actors and the character are still alive, they recast.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think the recasting in itself, I guess, is like insulting or anything about their memory. I guess it all comes down to like, I mean, if Big Finish is trying to act like John Hurt's portrayal never existed, then like, yeah, that would be pretty disrespectful. But I think Big Finish has more sense than that. I mean, Big Finish, the people who write the stories for Doctor Who, like, care about the show. And so I think they'll be, I think they recognize that obviously, like, this is a kind of a weird situation in some ways, but also that, like, they want to use the character and there are stories to be told. And I'm okay with it, really.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you're not, you can just pretend it's another universe because, like, Spiral Scratch made it canon that there are, like, multiple timelines of the Doctor and that Big Finish, you know, Spiral Scratch implied that the Big Finish audios take place in their own separate timeline from, like, the TV show, so...
Hell yeah.
You know, we definitely made this joke before, but Timeless Children made everything canon? Nah. Spiral Scratch made everything canon.
Can you even say you're a Doctor Who fan if you haven't read Spiral Scratch multiple times?
Well, that means we're not fans.
Exactly.
We've only read it once, and once was enough. So those are our 3 emails for the week.
Yeah, so we actually forgot to do Britain's 10 actors, and this week it would just be Britain's 1 actor, I guess, because there's only really 1 character to cover here, which was Adam.
Britain's 1 actor.
Just plays every role.
So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know who wants to take this, like...
Doesn't matter to me. All right, it's Brian Dick. Plays Adam. I have him in Midsummer Murders, Capital, Blackpool, The Bill, and a whole bunch of other stuff I didn't recognize. I don't know if you had him in anything else besides that.
Yeah, he's been in a lot. I just pulled up his IMDb page because there was only 1 guy, so I felt that I could do that. He's been in The Bill, I think you mentioned actually already.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of Blue Murder. Sounds pretty interesting. Red Cap, so, you know, they're with the color theme. Blackpool, hey. Color Me Kubrick? Is there a trend
Interesting.
here? Blood and Chocolate, 2 very distinct, you know, one is very distinctly red, the other often associated with brown. So, yeah. And, yeah, just like a bunch of other stuff.
Bunch of other stuff I didn't recognize. Like I said, good times.
A lot of these look really bad.
So like Sergeant Tregenna says in his email, you know, he has a very punchable face, I suppose. And on that, I've got nothing else to say.
Yeah.
So if you would like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorative.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Adam, I guess, the 3rd host of this podcast who's been with us for years. He was out this week with a cold.
Yeah, he'll be
with
back
COVID.
next week. Let's go.
He was out with COVID. Yeah, we'll be back next week. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable and find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and basically anywhere you find podcasts at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time, we're watching Reset. But until then, the end.